Hey everybody, welcome back to Tai Chi Live. We're going to do our principle practice again today. And while modifications is not really a principle, I do want to go over what modifications we can do. And one of the beauties of Tai Chi is that it's done standing all the time. And that's great for real life. That's great for people that don't want to get up and down off the floor. But it's also a limitation for someone who maybe isn't as steady on their feet or maybe can't be standing at all. So I wanted to expand our reach, expand our views into who in our family, what friends and family we have, people in our community, that they can do Tai Chi even if they can't stand all the time. So that's what we're going to do today. As we talk about these modifications, we're actually going to call back the principles that we have been talking about. The 4 principles that we've gone over so far. The first one, we talked about being suspended from the ceiling, which is really about letting our posture fall naturally into alignment, which is our columns, if you will, in Tai Chi. We have 3 columns, one straight down the center of our body, one through each shoulder, through each hip. We talked about the concept of substantial and insubstantial, which is really about where your weight is and understanding where your weight is at all times. We talked about rotation and how you rotate on that central column. And last week we talked about moving from the dantian. And remember, the dantian is 2 inches in from the belly button, 2 inches down. It's the center of our energy in Tai Chi, and it's also the center of our balance. Just because we're modifying doesn't mean that we preempt these principles. So this really is a principle practice. We're just going to practice our principles in relation to how we can modify these movements. So I'm going to step back a little bit. You notice that I have a chair here today. Let's think about first people that are able to stand, but maybe just a little bit unsteady on their feet, or standing for long periods of time they're just not able to do that. Someone like this, we can have a chair available for them. Put the chair in front and they have this base of support extra for them. Think about if they're doing pushing chi. They can put their foot out and they can do their pushing chi, and if they feel a little bit wobbly, the chair is right there for them, so that they're not as afraid. They have more confidence that they're able to do this standing and not really worry about toppling over. There's lots of different uses for the chair, but this is going to be that one thing where it gives them confidence. If you think about our Chi walking, for example. Chi walking, we're actually moving forward, right? Thinking about our principles of columns, of moving from the dantian, of understanding where our substantial and insubstantial, where our weight is, right? As we step forward, we bring that weight forward. We move that dantian over the base of support. And we let this leg move forward because now it's the empty leg. So you've got empty and full in Chi walking. Well, how are you going to do that if you have a chair in front of you, or if you have someone that's really unsteady and they don't really want to be moving forward? You have the chair in front. You can encourage them to step forward, thinking about their weight, thinking about moving their dantian over their base of support, keeping their columns intact. Let that weight come forward a little bit. They can still be holding on to the chair. Let the weight come back. Now let all the weight come onto this front leg. Let this back leg become empty, just like we do in Chi walking. They can lift that back leg and then step back. and they step back with the other foot, shift that weight, they actually get some extra substantial and insubstantial practice. Bringing the weight over onto this column now, they can step out to this side. Bring that weight a little bit forward, rock back. Now bringing that dantian over the base of support, let this leg become completely full, this back leg become empty. You can lift that back leg, then set it down, bring the weight back, and step back. So you're not actually moving forward, but you are working, you're understanding that substantial and insubstantial, you're understanding keeping your columns intact. You're not walking like this. You do need to stand upright. You do need to keep those columns intact. This is a lot of people that are used to walking with a walker. They're used to walking like this. We want to help them understand their columns. They can still do chi walking even with a chair. Let's look at brush knee, and we'll look at how we step forward with that brush knee. The chair is there, they just come to the side of that chair. Stepping back, thinking about their columns, keeping those columns intact, holding that ball, step out just to the other side of the chair and brush knee. Having the chair here actually encourages them not to break their columns by going too far forward, right? If you go too far forward, you're actually going to hit your chair. And that's not a good thing. We don't want that. We don't want them breaking their columns. So you're doing your brush knee, substantial and insubstantial, coming forward. Same thing with part the wild horse's mane. Bring your weight over to this side, keeping those columns intact. Holding the ball, let this leg become insubstantial, step forward, let it become substantial, bring this bottom hand up and the top hand down. This is here in case you feel wobbly. Then you're going to step back, holding the ball, bringing the weight over to this side, step out, part the wild horse's mane. One of the other movements that we do a lot of moving is repulse the monkey, right? We walk backwards, bringing that weight over that back leg, letting the front leg become insubstantial, letting it become empty, and we step back. Letting that front leg become empty, step back. With someone that's not as stable, if you don't feel like you can step backwards, that's just fine. You can stand, have your chair in front of you, bring your legs about shoulder width apart. Just bring one hand behind and bring it forward. And now we're focusing more on that rotation, moving from the dantian in that rotation. No, we're not really moving, that's okay. That practice of rotating on that central column is actually very important. The same thing goes for your wave hands like clouds. Remember, with wave hands like clouds, we're leading with the dantian, we're rotating on that central column, we're understanding this now becomes substantial, this is insubstantial, so I can step in. Well, if someone is not as comfortable moving with wave hands like clouds, they can have their chair, bring their feet about shoulder width apart. They can still do their wave hands like clouds, and even think about, as they're rotating on this central column, think about bringing their weight over to one side and then bringing it over to the other side. This is now their insubstantial. It might not be 100% insubstantial, but that's okay. They know that their weight is fully on this column here, and then it becomes fully on this column here. No, it's not 100%, but they're still understanding and applying the principles of Tai Chi. With someone who is not able to stand or is really unstable and needs to be seated in a chair. Move that chair just a little bit. You might think that because they're not moving, they're not really able to think about the substantial and insubstantial. They might not be able to think about empty and full. They might not be able to participate because they're not moving. But that's not true. With our seated posture, our angles do become a little bit smaller. Our rotation becomes a little bit smaller. Our weight shift becomes a little bit smaller. But we still think about those principles as we do our Tai Chi. And that actually helps someone be more balanced, even though they're in a seated position. Finding a chair that does not have arms is ideal. You can still do it with a chair with arms. But if you can, find a chair that you don't have arms. Sit yourself a little bit forward on the chair. This is not a good Tai Chi posture. You're breaking those columns. You're not suspended. This is not a good position at all. I also don't want you to be Edith Ann, where your feet don't touch the ground, okay? You're old enough to remember Edith Ann. So sit a little bit forward in your chair. Chi walking. How can someone chi walk from a seated position? Well, no, they're not going to be moving forward, but remember, just like with our person that was standing behind the chair, they were stepping. They weren't actually moving forward either. One of the keys, which both the person standing behind the chair and the person seated, I want you to think about as you bring that foot forward, heel to toe is very important. Okay, so you bring that foot forward, roll it forward, and bring your weight just slightly onto that foot so that you feel the toes spreading and really bringing yourself into the ground. This is another one of our principles that we haven't covered yet. It's being rooted and grounded, and we'll talk about that later, but this is a preview of that. Roll that foot forward, spread those toes, pull them, feel them really sinking into that ground. What I don't want you to do is grip the ground. Okay, so you're not rolling forward and doing this with your toes. That's not what you're doing. You're pulling forward, letting that weight kind of just sink in as if it's in sand, wet sand. Think about how your toes can feel in wet sand. Then bring that foot back. Let the other foot come forward, roll it heel to toe. Let those toes just kind of sink into that wet sand. Now rocking back. Bring this foot. Now as you shift your weight, it's very subtle. It's really just cheek to cheek, okay? It's not, I'm shifting my weight and then I shift my weight. Obviously I've broken my columns here. That's not a good thing at all. As I shift, I bring my weight over here. It's very subtle, but then I can step out with this foot, bring my weight a little bit forward, rock back, bring that foot back. Now I shift my weight over here so that I can step out with this foot. So chi walking from a seated position. It's really focusing on rolling heel to toe, spreading those toes into that wet sand. If we do pushing chi from our seated position, I want you to bring one foot out. I'm going to stand up for a second. Remember, pushing chi is like this. We're keeping our columns intact. We're moving from the dantian. We understand that weight shift coming forward and then coming back. So from a seated position, you want that foot out. You don't need to open that angle like this. That's too wide from that seated position. Remember what I said, our angles become smaller in the seated position and our weight shift becomes more subtle. So you're bringing that foot out, bringing your hands to the level of the dantian. Remember, we're moving from the dantian, even from this seated position, pushing chi. Notice that I'm not allowing my body to do this. That's breaking my columns. It's very subtle where I bring my dantian over that base of support and then rock back. You can do your pushing chi on the other side. Now bring that other foot in. Let that foot roll down and then pushing chi. If we do our brush knee and our part the wild horse's mane, it's very similar to that pushing chi. We're going to bring one foot out. No, wait, forgot. You start with holding the ball. So remember, you have your weight on one column and hold the ball. So that weight shift is simply just a little bit of cheek lift, okay? Not a lot. I don't want a lot. I don't want you to hold the ball like this and then come forward. That's too much. Little bit of weight shift, hold the ball. Allow this foot to come out. And now rotating on that central column, moving that dantian over that base of support, come out and brush knee. Again, you don't need to push forward, just like the person standing doesn't do that. The person seated does not. It's very small movement. Now bring the weight over to this side. Hold the ball. Step out with this foot. Brush knee. Let's do that brush knee on the other side. Bringing that dantian over this base of support. And then one more. Brush knee. Part the wild horse's mane is very similar, correct? You're holding the ball, bringing that weight over to this side, step out, but now that bottom hand comes up and the top hand comes down. Remember, you're rotating on that central column, moving that dantian over to this side. Part the wild horse's mane. This one's very tempting to do this. You don't want to do that, and you certainly don't want your hand out like this. Part the wild horse's mane. Remember, it's very subtle. Keep that bottom hand in front of your body. Now hold the ball. Step out. Part the wild horse's mane, bringing that bottom hand up and the top hand comes down. Let's do it again on both sides. Hold the ball. Bring your weight over to this side. Step out. Bottom hand comes up, part the wild horse's mane. Now bring it back. The weight's on this side now as you hold the ball. And if the weight's on this side, that means this hand is tall. This hand is the high hand in holding the ball. Step out. Moving from the dantian, rotate into that part the wild horse's mane. So speaking of rotation, Repulse the Monkey. We're stepping backwards with Repulse the Monkey, remember? And even the person standing that didn't want to step backwards, they simply brought their hands into this position. One is in front, one is more at about, this is about a 90-degree angle. I'm not really open. It's about at a 90-degree angle. Bring that back hand up and over. Rotate on that central column, but move from the dantian. And now bring this hand back to about that 90-degree angle. Bring that back hand up and over. And up and over. If you focus on moving from your dantian, you're going to feel that rotation. And there you can do your Repulse the Monkey. Same thing with wave hands like clouds. Remember, with wave hands like clouds, you have this big ball. You're just moving from side to side. Switch your hands as it comes to this side. Come back to the other side. Now with wave hands like clouds, you can even start to incorporate, like I said with the person standing, where your weight is. Shift onto this cheek as you're over here. Rotating on that central column, shift onto this cheek now. Wave hands like clouds. Notice that my hand, my eyes follow my hand as I do this. If you have a problem with vertigo, it's okay to keep your head a little bit more stable, but you do want to have a little bit of tracking with that hand. That will actually help you with your vertigo. Ward off, the whole ward off sequence. Remember, your angles are a little bit smaller when you're seated in the chair. Bring your weight over to this side, holding on. Step out with this foot. Bring that bottom hand high, rotating. This is your ward off. Bring that dantian over that base of support. Grasp the bird's tail. Now roll back. You're bringing your weight over to this side as you bring your hands to this hip. Then rotate and press. And here's your pushing chi that we started with in the chair. So let's do it on the other side. Bring this foot back, holding the ball here. Step out. Bringing that bottom hand up, ward off. Bringing the weight over here, grasp the bird's tail. Roll back. The weight shifts over here, but just slightly. Rotate and press. Pushing chi. So yes, this angle is a little bit smaller than what I would do if I were standing, but that still helps you practice your weight shift, your rotation, actually thinking about moving from the dantian. When we do our kicks, and with someone standing, and I've shown you these modifications before, obviously when somebody's holding onto a chair, they become more confident in lifting that leg and kicking. Even if they don't feel confident, as I've said, this can be a kick, as long as you understand where your substantial and insubstantial is. This can be your pheasant stance. You don't have to lift, but since you have the chair here, you might actually feel more confident to lift just a little bit higher. In the seated position, remember I told you you're sitting forward, your feet are flat on the ground, you're sitting up nice and tall, and I didn't want you to sit back and do this. When you're doing your kicks, I still don't want you to sit back and do this, but I do want you to move back just a little bit in your chair, just a little bit. Shifting that weight over to one side, remember not a lot, keep those columns intact, keep yourself suspended. Now you can lift. Then shifting that weight, lift. If you want to add your pheasant stance, there, that elbow just comes towards that knee. There's your pheasant stance. If you want to do kicks, it's the same thing. Shifting over, lift, and kick. Shift, lift, and kick. Your snake creeps, if we were to do your snake creeps, you're just bringing your leg out. You can form your bird's beak, which is 3 fingers on that thumb. You're shifting forward. Now notice, I'm not going down like this. This could really cause someone to fall on their face. We don't want that. As you're doing your snake creeps, keep that head up. And now, shifting that weight to this leg, you can come into your pheasant stance. So if we do the other side, you form your bird's beak, snake creeps. Now you're going to shift your weight to this leg, but not from this position. You have to bring that leg back in order to do your pheasant stance. Remember, from a standing position in that snake creeps, we shift it onto this front leg and we come into that pheasant stance. From a seated position, you're shifting your weight forward. And yes, you are going to shift over here, but you have to bring that leg back, shifting the weight over. Then you can come into your pheasant stance. With your kick, smash, and box the ears, same thing. Remember, you sit back just a little bit, shift to one side, kick, smash, box the ears. Do not come too far forward. Let's do it on the other side. Kick, smash, and box the ears. The other movement that we've used that I want to caution you from a chair position is pick the needle up from the C bottom. From a standing position, you're picking the needle up from the C bottom, coming up, block, fan through the back. From a seated position, I don't want you to do this. Okay, again, that could cause you to fall over. Keeping your head up, you just move that dantian over the base of support, lean forward just a little bit, and then come up and block, and you can fan through the back. Even on the other side, same thing. Keeping that head up, coming up, and fan through the back. So even from a seated position, you can do all the movements in Tai Chi and still focus on the principles. That's why we call this principle practice on Tuesdays, because we want to help you get the benefits of Tai Chi. The benefits of Tai Chi don't come from just doing the movements. They come from applying these underlying principles to the movements. So as you saw today, even with somebody who needs a chair, either for support as they're doing things, or they need to be seated, they can still apply these underlying principles of being suspended, understanding their columns, understanding where their weight is, which side is empty, which side is full, understanding how to rotate their body, keeping their shoulders level, rotating on that central column, and moving from the dantian. Even if they're not actually moving forward or backward, they're still learning how to move from the dantian. And believe it or not, the principles of balance, the benefits of balance and the benefits of stress relief will all come to you, even if you're doing your Tai Chi in a seated position. On Friday, we're going to do a form like our 7 minutes of serenity we've done on Fridays. We're going to do our 7 minutes of serenity. We're going to do one standing, and we're going to do one seated, so that you can see how even in a seated position, even in a modified atmosphere, you can still get into your 7 minutes of serenity and get into a flow of Tai Chi, connecting these movements one to another. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have questions, you can let me know. If you're watching live, you can type in the questions, or even if you're watching afterwards or you think of a question after you've watched live, send me those questions. You can send them to my email, diane@taichisystem.com, or you can just comment on the video itself. I will answer those questions. So as you're doing your Tai Chi, if you have a question about if you're doing something right, or if you want to know how to modify you want to figure out how to do something, please ask me. That's why we're doing these. I want to help you enjoy Tai Chi and help you get the benefits of it. I'll see you on Friday.